So hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast entitled How Expanding One's Awareness Can Lead to Positive Choices. I'm Dr. Trish Murray, physician, author, and health catalyst speaker, and I am so honored today to have retired Colonel Jill Chambers from the U.S. Army here to talk about awareness with us today. Jill, it's so nice to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here.
Oh, it's going to be great.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so folks, I'm going to read Jill's bio, which is just amazing. So check this out. Retired Colonel Jill W. Chambers is CEO of This Able Vet, LLC, is widely recognized as the first person in the history of the U.S. military to develop a successful, sustainable strategy designed to reduce the crippling stigma associated with mental health challenges in a warrior culture. Her deep understanding of post-traumatic stress changed the military culture, equipping those likely to face adversity with tools to help them positively process those experiences. Jill was inducted into the Army's Women's Hall of Fame in 2015 for her contributions in this area. In recognition for her rare gifts as a leader and her many groundbreaking accomplishments over 30 years of service, retired Colonel Jill Chambers was most recently selected as a, quote, next maker by AOL and PBS, honoring trailblazing women whose physical, intellectual, and emotional strength have opened doors, opened minds, and inspired change. She was also selected as the Senior Professional Women's Association Department of Defense Woman of the Year in recognition of her contributions that have positively impacted the community, specifically with her work in her organization, This Able Vet, LLC, a women's service disabled veteran-owned small business. With a master's degree in public administration and human resources, another Master's of Science in National Resource Strategy, Jill utilized her post-9/11 GI Bill to further her education and earn 2 additional degrees. One in a Master's in Health and Wellness with a concentration in aromatherapy, and a Master's in Complementary Alternative Medicine, both from the American College of Healthcare Sciences in 2019. Jill is married to country superstar Michael Peterson, known for his #1 hits, From Here to Eternity, Drink, Swear, Steal, and Lie, and Too Good to Be True. I met both Michael and Jill at a CEO Space conference about 1.5 years ago, I think it is.
Right.
And we just hit it off. So I'm so glad you're here with us today on our podcast.
Oh, well, thank you. That was very sweet of you.
Well, every bit of it is just an honor to, your background is just absolutely amazing. So
thank you, Trish.
To start with some questions, the first question I love to ask all of my guests is, how did you get to where you are today as far as the type of service you're providing to the world today? Help us understand what led you down this path.
Oh, that's a great question. I never thought I would be down this path, but what really started this was actually being in the Pentagon on 9/11. That was, obviously a very momentous day in pretty much everybody's life. But being there in the Pentagon and actually witnessing firsthand, the trauma that's happening there, subsequently over the next several years, while still working in the Pentagon, I ended up working for Admiral Mullen, who was then the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I served for him as his special assistant for returning warrior issues. Now, I wasn't really even qualified to do that. I was an adjutant general corps officer that was personnel, and you take care of people's problems and, solve issues. But I was thrust into this particular position. Thought, okay, well, I'm going to go after this just like I would any other job. So not being really of a medical background, but just a regular person, my job was to go out, and because Admiral Mullen had tasked me with find out what's going on with our service members coming back because of the concern of all the mental health challenges that were happening, and these service members coming back with something that nobody was really willing to talk about. So over the course of a little over 18 months, I traveled all over the United States, speaking to soldiers who were returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, and really beginning to understand, hey, there's this thing called post-traumatic stress. Of course, we're throwing the word disorder on there, and that wasn't helping at all. So one of my first tasks was, okay, sir, we need to talk about post-traumatic stress. This is a real thing. It's not just military. I mean, everybody can experience post-traumatic stress. And he thought, okay, if this is, really super, super important to you, and I was neck deep into this by now after listening to so many service members and their stories, the fact that we weren't talking about it and not doing any treatment about it led me to meeting Dr. Marty Seligman, who was, I'm sure you probably know that name. He's the past American Psychological Association president out at the University of Pennsylvania. I connected with him and another gentleman by the name of Dr. Larry Dewey out at the Boise, Idaho VA, Dr. Richard Carmona, the immediate past president of the American Psychological Association. And I pulled this group of men together because they knew about post-traumatic stress. And again, for me, it was, okay, I'm the kid coming in learning. I didn't have any predisposition about anything that was supposed to be. So I was just like a sponge taking all of this in. And it was in very short order that out of this group of men, we were able to go then to General Casey, the chief of staff of the Army, present him with the evidence that's saying we need to really start talking about post-traumatic stress. And there's really light at the end of the tunnel. There are things that you can do to overcome adversity and to build resilience to help our service members so that they don't fall into these cracks and people don't know how to take care of them. So I was able to bring all of that together. I was thrilled about that. General Casey listened to these gentlemen, and that very day after that very first meeting, he put out what they call a general officer sends. So it went all across across the Army that says, okay, number one, we're going to start talking about post-traumatic stress. Number two, we're dropping the word disorder because it's not a disorder. This is a natural human reaction to just unlikely events. And we've got ways to create a program that can start to get our service members prepared and more resilient and begin to talk about mental health. Not, you've got some kind of, weird psychological problem. It's mental health. So I was delighted to be on the groundwork of all of that. And when all was said and done in 2009, when I'm getting ready to retire, I was happy. Everything was launching, and I went and had my physical to leave, and it was determined that I had post-traumatic stress. little did I know, but I thought it was normal to sleep 2 hours a night, and I thought having nightmares about burning aircraft for 9 years now, 8-9 years. It's just normal, and I'm not going to talk about it. Like, wait a minute. I need to get myself healthy because this isn't normal. So that was really the path that encouraged me. I knew I needed to take care of myself, number one, before I could do anything. And I knew that pharmaceuticals, for me, it wasn't the way. I had seen what happened to a lot of our service members, and it was pill after pill after, some of them were taking 20 to 25 medications at a time. Mm-hmm. And its effects were devastating. And a lot of those effects led to a lot of suicides. So, okay, so I went down the road of guided imagery, neurofeedback, and biofeedback. I had some really remarkable friends in that arena. Belruth Napperstack with guided imagery, and led me to guide some biofeedback and neurofeedback. And I retired in April of 2009, and by August of 2009, and I was diligent. I mean, I listened to my guided imagery every day. I did my neurofeedback and biofeedback every day. And honestly, since August of 2009, I haven't had a nightmare since.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's been remarkable. Now, that isn't a cure-all for everybody. That is what helped me and my brain and my physiology. Mm-hmm. But that led me to then, hey, wait a minute, I bet there's a lot of non-pharmaceutical things out there that could really help our service members. That's when I started to get myself educated. That's why I went back for those 2 other master's degrees. That's how I learned about tapping and heart math and all these other, just a variety of non-pharmaceuticals that can work individually based on whatever our service member that I'm working with at the time feels most comfortable with, to include aromatherapy too. So that's really been my journey. And now I've just, again, because I've had an opportunity to become so, and there's still more education to learn. I'm certainly not an expert in all of that, but I have such a deep understanding now of these kinds of things that can help. I've seen it work on myself. I've used this on my friends. I've used it, helped our veterans. I've helped my husband. And the fun part is, in reading your book, is why I was so, out of all the people that I had an opportunity to meet that time at CEO Space, there was just something about your energy, and I didn't really know what it was. And of course we parted ways. I read your book in probably less than 2 hours, and it was like, oh, now I know why. I know exactly why. And your book is just so on target, and it's such an easy read, and it's fun.
Well, thank you, Jim. That's awesome. The title of the book, of course, folks, is Make a Dent in Chronic Disease. And yes, when I met Jill, I gave her my book as a gift, and because we talked about the fact of her background and that she had done her training in alternative medicine and innovative medicine things. And I was just so honored to give you the book to see what you thought of it. And then you ended up emailing me, finding out my email so you could email me, let me know what you thought of the book. I loved that. That was so special.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Have you, as you were speaking, it reminded me of the fact that I used to use quite often in my talks publicly, an excerpt from a documentary called Escape Fire. And Escape Fire is a documentary about kind of where is our medical system today. And they did use the military in pieces of it as sort of a example of basically, in some ways, how the medical system's not working well, in that this one person that's sort of in that piece, he pours out of a plastic bag all of the bottles of pills he was on. And he was on, it's like, I've been on all of these pills. And he poured out an entire plastic bag full of bottles. And then the documentary, of course, shows that instead of that, he tried some acupuncture. He tried some neurofeedback. He tried some guided videos, what you were talking about. Yeah. And he got better. Mm-hmm. So, my message to everyone, Jill, and you fit in perfectly, is the fact that, yes, whether you're talking about traditional medicine and innovative medicine, it's exactly that. It's integrative. And what does the research show is of benefit? And don't only look at one way. There's always other options out there.
Exactly. You're right on target.
Yeah. So with the theme of sort of awareness today, and again, how expanding one's awareness can lead to positive choices, how is awareness in your life's journey making a positive, healthy difference for you now?
Oh, I love that question. Well, so we all know we can make choices. I can make a choice to get up and go to the refrigerator and get a drink of water. And I can make a choice to go out and just go for a walk. But what has helped me, and again, this is probably because of this last 3 years of education and getting these masters, and thinking about, if you look at, you got your choice right here, but the awareness, why am I doing that, has made such a difference. So instead of, I'm going to the refrigerator to get a drink of water, and I don't do this, it's not so deliberate, and it's not like, step by step. But in the back of my mind, as I'm going to the refrigerator to get that water, my awareness is saying, good for you, Jill, drink that water. It's great for your brain. And I reinforce, I give myself my positive reinforcement. Hey, I'm going to go for a walk. Okay, it's a choice. I'm choosing to go for a walk. Yeah, because you know what? It's just really good for my muscles and my bones. And today is going to be a day where I'm going to walk through the park and scoop up some of this good energy from the trees. And I mean, it just, I can feel it. So my awareness of the why am I going to choose to go do that, is made it fun. It's made it a really fun, healthy journey for me. And it's reinforced why I want to do these things. And it's easy and it's fun. And One of the things you mentioned in your book is about how important it is to have a companion or someone that's doing something, things like this with you. And Michael's he's totally on board with me. I mean, just before we started this, he headed to the gym. So I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go swimming. And I said to him, why are you swimming? And he then came back and said, well, I'm working on some, some hip joint issues. And this has really been beneficial for me instead of walking. Good. But it just put in his head, and this is why I'm going. And so that, I hope that helps answer that question, but it's just been this awareness, and you can apply that to anything in your life.
Yeah, just absolutely. Just the idea of, so many of us just do habitual things in our lives and day in and day out, all day long. And the idea is, well, why? Just stop a second and ask,
exactly.
Why do I choose to do this? Why am I doing that? And if you really don't have an answer, then maybe it's time to reassess.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, because I could share with folks that about a year ago, as a doctor of osteopathic medicine, I work with my hands a lot. My job is quite physical, treating people's pain. And I had a couple injuries up around my neck at what's called the thoracic inlet and in my shoulders.
Okay.
And I was making the choice not to really work out with my upper body because I felt I had to protect it or care for it and rest it.
Right.
Well, that went on, and it started to keep going on and on to the point where things were not getting better. And I said to myself about a year ago, Trish, you got to start lifting or doing something to improve. I was always stretching, but I wasn't really working on the strength. And then I realized, okay, well, I can't get to the gym because of my schedule. And I said, well, wait a minute. I own my own business. So I've changed my schedule so that Tuesday mornings for the last year, I am always at the gym.
Awesome.
And now my pain is gone up in my upper, up around my neck at it's called the thoracic inlet, and where the clavicle comes into the sternum. The pain's gone, and I'm stronger, and my energy's better because I made a focused decision of needing to get stronger. And also now I've always done yoga every day, but also I chose to get my strength back. And now we do a yoga class every Friday at my office as group visits, and we do self-myofascial release. And I participate as a participant in those things and not always the instructor.
Oh, I love that story. See, I love that because the awareness after sitting and thinking, well, I'm resting. Yeah, okay, that's not working. And you found another path. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. That's completely perfect. For a month now, I've had a ringing in my right ear, and it's just kind of a high-pitched thing, and it kind of comes and goes, and it's a little irritating, but it hasn't really messed up my sleep. But, then I start you read on the internet and blah, 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 tinnitus, blah, blah. Mostly, usually, always everything you read is too bad, so sad. You're stuck with this. You're 61 years old and it's just going to get worse. So suffer. And I don't take that lightly. No. There's got to be a way. So seriously, in the last week, it's not going away. I've been using some essential oils, and when I do that, especially with peppermint, just right around my ear, because it has everything to do with blood flow, and peppermint oil is one of the really good ones to get just blood flowing. And that seemed to work. And I thought, I'm going to have to use peppermint oil the rest of my life. No, there's something else. Let me think. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I wonder if my sinuses are, I don't have a cold, but your sinuses can get gummed up, and sometimes you don't even know it. So for the last 4 days, I've been using this sinus rinse. Ringing's gone. All gone.
Awesome.
Just gone. It's just like, oh, well, that was easy. And no, I'm not going to have to live with it. So I just, you just get that awareness to go down further. What's the root? What is it that I can do?
And that's the other thing about the why that you made me think of, is the idea of functional medicine, of course. It's the idea of not just here's your uniform, you have rheumatoid arthritis, here's your uniform, or here you have heart, migraine headaches, here's your uniform. But why? Why do I have them? And what is the root cause for me? Because the root cause may not be the same for everyone.
Exactly.
And you, because you were thinking about why, And the awareness of it was like, well, wait a minute. Why have I developed tinnitus? What are the ringing in the ear? What are the possible things? And
Right.
you were able to figure it out.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
Exactly. And so, that comes from, education. And of course, there's a lot of it boils down to, I call it the you gotta wanna factor. You gotta wanna get better. And I want to feel good. Michael and I have a plan. We're going to live to be 120.
There you
So
go.
things we need to do. Okay, we're halfway there. All right, so we've got things to do, and not letting silly stuff bog us down. Obviously I can't perform surgery on myself, and there's some very serious things that could happen that needs medical attention. I get that. Another example is for about a week my right foot just it felt like super tight. It was kind of like I wish somebody could just come along and just pull it just a little bit. It's like it needed a crack. Something was just stuck. I thought, well, why is this? Okay, well, I walk a ton, and and it was the same thing. It was like, well, I realized that my good pair of walking shoes are kind of wearing out, and so and this was just yesterday. And so this has been about a week, and now I'm starting to walk kind of funny, and it's like, okay, don't screw up your hip and don't mess up your gait by walking funny. Let's figure this out. So again, I got online. The nearest thing I came up with was tendonitis, because so many people were talking about the same kind of place where it was on their foot. I thought, oh, tendonitis. Well, I wrote a few papers on that in my master's class. I pulled these out. I actually went upstairs to my little aromatherapy room. I made myself a blend. Then I thought, well, okay, it's been a week and I'm kind of past the time of doing ice, but I did it anyway. I didn't really walk on long walks at all yesterday. I woke up this morning and as if somebody gave me a brand new foot. It's gone. It's just gone.
Yes. The thing about the more you engross yourself in other options, other possibilities, and the more things you have tools
Right.
to try and be proactive for yourself.
Right.
If you catch things early enough, many times, it's going to get better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that, that came all with the awareness, because yesterday it was like, oh, let's go for a walk. No, not going for a walk.
Yeah.
Walk. Today's not walk day. Let's just be good day. So that, again, it was like, always the choices to go, but wait a second, have some awareness. Let's clean things up. And just like you said, things can get better.
Absolutely. We have so much power to be in control of our injuries or issues many times. Again, if we catch it early enough and we're proactive.
Right.
So are there specific tools you use to stay in alignment or to foster your awareness and balance in your life every day?
Thank you for that question. And yes, indeed, I'm very good about using because I'm a heart math mentor from the Heart Math Institute. So that's, and I'm sure you know all about that. That's really working coherence with your heart and your brain. So I use my inner balance tool probably 4 or 5 times a week. I try not to do everything every single day. I like to, jazz it up a little bit. So, I'll work with my inner balance several times a week. I'm happy Michael and I both do Lumosity. So we work on our brains, and just keeping that alive. We've got our Fitbit tools, so we're always making sure we get steps, or at least we're moving. And we've got, I have in our therapy room, I have a biofeedback and neurofeedback computer tool. So we use that about once a week, each of us. But after you use it so often, it's very, very easy to get your numbers where it's very healthy for you. And then you can start to feel it in your own body. And at that point, there are many times, like when I go out and speak, I know what I need to do for my breathing and my thought process before I just get up and speak. And I know exactly what that feeling is. And I know it takes me about 4 minutes to get there. And so I can practice with, again, I don't have to have my inner balance tool with me. I know what to do to make that feeling come over me. It's like, oh, now I'm ready. Because everything just feels in alignment. So yeah, inner balance, neurofeedback, biofeedback, guided imagery for sure.
Yeah. And these are practices. These are tools. And
Yes.
I always recommend that to all my patients that I really truly believe that every single one of us every day should have a practice we do. It might only be for 5 or 10 minutes, but the bottom line is you do some practice
Right.
every day, whether it's deep breathing, and that doesn't cost anything, or whether it's one of the tools you've mentioned, like Active Mind. I recommend to a lot of people something called Active Minds Global, that has to do with brain entrainment. It's kind of like neurofeedback. These terms all sort of overlap each other.
Okay.
Or another biofeedback modality you mentioned of heart math, where instead of biofeedback for the brain, we're using it to bring our heart into coherence.
Right.
So all of it has to do with quieting our sympathetic nervous system and bringing our systems into balance.
Yes.
But if you spend 5 or 10 minutes a day doing that, you become so much more aware of how to get to that place on a regular basis.
Exactly. And then it's just fun, and it's healthy, and it makes it, I mean, you and I both know what stress can do, and that's just, it's just a mess, and it's everywhere. It's all around us. And, Michael and I run into so many people who are running in 100 different directions, and they're stressed, and they talk a mile a minute. And when I get around that, I find myself becoming even more relaxed now, because it's very, very easy to get caught up in it and then get your wheels spinning. It's like, nope, I'm not playing. Nope,
Right.
nope,
Right.
nope.
Right.
So
And you fall back into your practice.
Exactly. And that's, you just become a habit now. It's like, no, I'm not going to go there.
That's
No.
awesome. That's good. So, Jill, how has gratitude played a role in keeping you healthy, both mentally and physically? Because awareness is one thing, but what about gratitude?
Yeah, gratitude. Thank you for asking that. It's so important, and it's a word that people can throw around and maybe not really understand it. Oh, I'm grateful. Gratitude for me is, and I encompass that, because when Michael and I every morning, and this is a habit of ours, we talk about the 3 things that we feel gratitude for, looking forward to in the day. Whether it's like this morning, it was, knowing that I was going to be able to have an opportunity to speak with you. And it almost feels like I'm giving back, and nothing's even happened yet. It's such a great feeling. Yeah. It's just a beautiful, beautiful way to figure out how to not only appreciate what's in front of you and what you could be looking forward to and what's around you, but when you can then be able to give that back and just, shine a light on, a stranger that, when I'm out walking, it's like, oh, and I do that sometimes when I'm taking a walk. It's like, oh, I can hardly wait for my first stranger to come by, because I'm going to smile and I'm going to wish them a really nice day and see what comes back. And I have never not had it come back. Even people whose heads are down and they're, I'll make it a point to kind of get in their way. Like, hey, because Las Vegas is beautiful almost all the time. Hey, it's a beautiful day, make it a great, and I always say, make it a great day. Instead of have a great day, make it. It's your job. You got to go make it a great day. And you get the smiles and the heads turn. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's, for me, is just, all that gratitude is just filling just endorphins everywhere. And I know how important that is. So that's how I really see that.
Yeah, and I'm sure through your practice with heart math, for example, they talk about, and others in meditation world and so forth, talk about the universal emotions, of positive emotion. Right. Gratitude, thankfulness, compassion, empathy, these joy, love.
All of those, yes, exactly.
All of those, the universal positive emotions. And if we promote those in our lives and during our practice, sort of bring those up and learn what those feel like in ourselves.
Yes.
You can bring them up at any moment and you can share them, as you say.
Exactly. You are exactly right. And it keeps you from flying off the handle when, we're going to all have challenges. Pretty much you're going to have them every day. Yeah. But it keeps you from, getting into an argument or saying something that you probably really didn't mean to say. It's like, no, I feel like I have just so much more control over just taking care of myself and my environment, and exercising my boundaries on things that, things want to creep in, or energy that's coming that I don't want. Mm.
Yeah, because one thing everyone needs to realize is we are emotional beings first and rational beings second. We all seem to think we're rational beings first and emotional, but we're not.
Interesting. Yes.
Our brain is actually wired with more from the emotional centers first.
Right. I've forgotten that. You're right.
And so when we're faced with an emotional situation that may not, like a stressful situation,
Right.
our emotions come up. So like you just said the idea of, well, I didn't mean to say that, or I didn't mean to do that. Many times it's because our emotions are just reacting and our rational being isn't present at that second or that moment. But when we walk away from it and our rational mind is able to come up because the emotion's over, it's like, oh, I didn't really mean to say that. I wouldn't have said that if I thought about it first.
Right.
And again, if you have a daily practice of quieting your emotions, quieting your mind, bringing yourself back to the gratitude, the thankfulness, the compassion, these places, sometimes you'll find that your quickness to react in an emotional situation that might not be so positive is slower or quieter, and you're not as fly off the handle-ish, if you will.
Right. Oh, I love how you said all that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, Jill, if you had one wish relating to everything you have learned and now practice relating to awareness in your health, what would that be?
It's really easy. I wish I would have known this so much younger.
Yeah.
I really do. There's, but of course, even 10 years ago, people weren't talking about a lot of the things that you and I are talking about. It just wasn't there. So I can't, go back in time and relive all the things that I would have done differently with all my new tools. But what I really wish now is that at least, what I'm doing and certainly what you're doing is for people that have an understanding about this and this gentleness to get this information out and to be present with people to share this. That's what I wish going forward, is to be able to just share it. And some people are going to just not, it's just not what they want to do. And that's okay. They either will or they won't, but those who are very interested and want to lead a healthy life, I want to be there for that. And that's just what I do. Show up, and when they're ready, I'm there.
Oh, that's awesome. And we're so glad you show up. That's for sure.
That's sweet. And you too.
Thank you. Because, that's the reason we do this. The reason you're willing to come on and do an interview, and I just keep doing my podcast and doing my thing, because the more we put it out there to the universe, then the more the universe is going to hear it and feel it, and things are going to shift.
Exactly.
So it's great.
Exactly.
So, Jill, this has been great. If my final question I always love to ask my clients that come on this as interviewees is, if you were to share with us your one secret for living a healthy life, what would you tell us that is?
I feel certain my secret has been Michael in my life, without a doubt. Again, what you talk about in your book and companion, I have a couple of really super great friends too, that they're on this journey with me, some girlfriends, but having Michael day to day, from morning to night, to reinforce the things that we're doing to keep ourselves healthy to 120.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just, he's it, and I think, I'm also it for him. And if one of us sees the other sliding, the other one just, comes and pulls him right back. A perfect example is this morning. I had a person who was supposed to be over here at 9:00. And I don't know if it's military background or it's just, it feels good to me when people are on time, when they say they're going to be on time. I like that. 9:00 came and went, and 9:30 came and went. And I was like, oh. So I texted this woman. I said, I thought we had an appointment at 9. But if something's come up, no worries. I was very careful. Back in the day, I would have been, hey, where are you? We had an appointment at 9. But just very gentle about that. And then I went upstairs and I shared with Michael, hey, she's supposed to be here at 9. And he kind of looked at me and cocked his head and he said, And now you could go and have this automatic negative thought. Well, I'm just not going to deal with her at all, just being really frustrated. And he tilted his head and we both smiled and I looked at him. And so then I announced, I'm sure something came up and we'll hear from her, but it's just fine. Instead of getting wound up, and he, was the little head cock, like, don't go there because he knows me. And sure enough, she texted back and she was like, oh my gosh, that did not show up on my calendar today. And I don't know why. I will be there in 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. And she came over and was completely delightful. But I could have ruined that whole thing by taking that automatic negative thought of, rawr, 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 rawr. But Michael said, don't do that. So he's it.
Oh, that's awesome. How long have you and Michael been together, Jill?
We just celebrated our 7th anniversary. We've known each other for 15 years, but we got married 7 years ago.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, that's great. So, Jill, thank you so much for being on with us. And we all appreciate every little point you've made. And we just resonate together as far as these different ideas. So it's so glad to reconnect with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, you certainly fulfilled my day. And I feel a lot of gratitude for you. So I'm going to enjoy my day.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And we hope to see you on our next episode of Discover Health Podcast. So take care, everyone.